Hello, 6-line day, gate 20, line 6, the line that is called wisdom. So we're at the top of the hexagram here, and wisdom is such a classic and beautiful keynote for the 6th line. As a 3rd line, the 6th line often gets burned by its capacity to be in the now, and so that absorption of being so present stops being important. We have a lifetime learning here that says contemplation, which results in the ability to apply understanding. Or not, of course. This may not come about, because the nature of real wisdom is that understanding has to be applied. It's of no value if it's just theoretical. There is so much knowing in the world, and it is part of where we are in the global cycle of things. We are at such a crux here. It's such an incredible time. All of this mystical knowing, all of this, the inner mysteries. What can't be known is becoming known. There are so many gurus, there are so many techniques. There's so many things that exist in this now. But what out of all of that myriad things is really worth applying? What is really worth bringing in as a mutation into this moment now? What is really worth changing the way in which I am, my I am, relates to itself, or your I am? These are questions that can only be answered over time through this lifetime learning. The exaltation says the establishment for the benefit of society, values, ideals, and their patterns, and how they can be understood and applied. The ability to transform individual awareness for general application and understanding. 6 lines. They really want to be of value. They want what they do to be worthwhile. Wisdom has to be of value to society. The totality must be able to understand what it is for themselves and be able to use it themselves. This is the true value. There are so many different paths, different ways, different gurus, different masters, they all have something for you to practice. How many of those practices are actually truly practical? How many gurus give you something that will really work if you apply it practically? Real wisdom has to be of value. There has to be something that can be grasped and applied. The detriment, the same as the above, but motivated by the self-satisfying mental challenge rather than the altruism. The ability to transform individual awareness for general application for the mental challenge or its various rewards. This is the 6th line who feels all pumped up about making things better for you and who really enjoys having their ego massaged in the process of doing so. In many ways, Ra said, this is not a line that really cares about the world. They're not really sure they know anything. So what do they have to share? What is it that they've got that is of any value? So it's probably best not to bother. Best just to sit back and watch the show. There needs to be some kind of trigger for the full potential of this 6th line to show itself. Many 6 lines never actually reveal their gifts because the call for them doesn't come. That call to come down off the roof and share that wisdom. They may not even know or be aware of what their gifts are. Ra had this line, and he said it took the encounter with the voice to shock him enough to bring out his potential. And of course, it doesn't have to be something that intense. It could be something much less shocking that calls you down if you're a 6th line and if you have the 20th gate, that will call that wisdom out of you. Ra said that it's a question of what life demands of us and not what we think we should be giving. And there are always the times when the world isn't ready for what we've got. What to do? We can cast our pearls before swine, but if we're a projector, that is going to make us real bitter. If we're generators, that will be frustrating. We'll be disappointed or angry if we're a reflector or manifester. So this is where strategy and authority can really help us, keep us honest, keep our integrity safe. If the world isn't ready for us, then the world isn't ready for us. What to do? So at this point, in the 20 line 6, the wheel is turning. And Ra said that this is one of the most beautiful transitions in the wheel, because the moment that you get to this point of wisdom in the now, the only thing that you can do is go to that next step, which is the 16th hexagram. And it's the hexagram of experimentation, or the gate of skills, because wisdom has no right to stand on its own unchallenged. There isn't anything that guides us in this life that should be free of challenge. Always we ask, why, what, how? So wisdom takes the next step, where the collective can experiment with it in the logical circuit to see whether it truly is of value or not. This is where wisdom meets delusion, which is the name of the 16th gate in line 1. The 34, line 6, is called common sense. Common sense, grounding into wisdom. This sounds like quite a good match, really, doesn't it? Common sense is very practical, whereas wisdom is a bit more encompassing and holistic. Wisdom transcends culture and era and is based on deep reflection of life's experiences and events. Or at least that's what Google told me when I Googled it, as you do on Google, common sense and wisdom, how do they work together? Mercury is on the move, moves into gate 2 at 19 minutes past midnight. The gate of direction of the self. This is the home of the driver, the magnetic monopole. And here we find an innate sense of direction that is independent of will, and that guides us towards beauty and love as part of a bigger unfolding. Isn't this lovely? Listen out for conversations about this over the next few days, people talking about direction or beauty or their identity. The moon is still in gate 11, the gate of ideas in the Ajna, and then at 1326 moves into gate 10, the gate of the behavior of the self in the G center. This is the underlying code of behavior which ensures a successful interaction despite circumstances. It brings a natural sense of how to behave as our true selves, irrespective of where we find ourselves. There can be a keen sense of how others behave, and all sorts of judgments can come up around that, which can lead to a deep discomfort if the behavior is not really what we would like it to be, if it's challenging us. But actually, butt out. It's not our business what anybody else is doing. This is the gate of behavior of the self. And it's in individuality, or part of individuality, it's in that centering circuit. So it's about empowerment for the self. It's not about what anyone else is doing. So we find that minor circuit is activated at the moment because the Earth is in 34 and Mars and Neptune are in 51-25. And here we've got the moon in 10. So this is centering circuit. And it's focused on behavior, of course. It's the power to act according to our nature and to forge ahead with courage, challenging and defining the spirit of the self. Powerful stuff. And there's the addition of the 1020 too. And this is the channel of awakening in integration. This is another channel that is focused on being yourself. It's rooted in the 10 after all, of that behavior. It's going to have that. And there's something here that could be a kind of foretaste of what happens from 2027, because the global cycle is going to change. That's not just our small solar wheel going, this is the big global cycle going into a whole new thing. Where we've been 400 years, we're moving into a new cycle. And all of these energies in integration, centering, these are all going to be part of the new experience. They will be the background frequency for the next 400 odd years. And we only have it for a few hours here while the moon is in gate 10, but still, pay attention, see what comes up. And then the moon goes into gate 58 at 23:33. This is the joyous. So after all that integration activity, we have the gate of vitality. The moon is here in the root center, bringing us the drive to challenge and correct any conditions that keeps our society from experiencing well-being as we move into the future. Very appropriate, really. When this energy is correctly focused and channeled, there is a fuel to ensure humanity's safe progress. There's the fuel to adjust imbalances and make lasting contributions to the collective. And it comes with a great joy for life, a great zest for living. And then gate 38 finally at 9:36. This is the gate of the fighter. This is the warrior who is always ready to stand up for their independence and fight against all the odds, sometimes to find value and purpose in life. There can be a formidable courage here and a resilience in confronting adversity. And there can be difficulties with and resistance to listening to other people because they don't want to be compromised in their search for their individual purpose. So that's our weather for today. Thank you very much for joining me, watching, listening, however you are taking this knowledge in. If you have anything on gate 20, anything that has touched you, resonated with you, please do leave me a message in the comments or wherever people leave messages these days. You can think it at me, I don't mind, whatever. It would be lovely to hear from you. Tomorrow we start with a new gate. We're in gate 16, and yeah, I look forward to sharing with you and seeing you then. So until then, go gently. Bye-bye.